Next one. So welcome to a brand new episode of the RGM Experience podcast with me, Callum Maloney, that guy from RGM. We're here again for another Monday of the RGM Experience, basically discussing grassroots music industry and having a good chat with some people and some friends of mine over in Sheffield, or that way anyway. You're just near enough in it. The Rosadocs lads.
All right.
How you doing, mate? All right.
I'm all right, lads. Yeah, you.
Yeah,
not bad.
Yeah,
not bad.
It's cold, isn't it?
It's freezing.
Oh, I know.
When you just jumped back off for a plane last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm going next week. I fancy a bit of sun myself. I'm going to Greece next week.
Ooh, nice.
Going to Greece for a bit. It looks like it's going to be at mid-20s.
It's better than here because it's mid-2s here.
Yeah.
So I might have to get the old nipples out and treat myself to a bit of sun next week, lads.
Hey, don't forget your Pisbo in.
You what?
Sun cream.
Oh,
Pisbo in.
I thought it was some kind of fancy hat or something like that.
I pretended I knew what you were on about then and just laughed.
Oh, yeah.
Right then, lads. So yeah, thanks for joining us today for this podcast. It's been a while, and I'm in a privileged position where I can say I put the Rosadocs on for the first ever gig back in the Washington. How long ago was that?
Creeping up 5 years.
Yeah,
now, isn't it?
yeah, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
4 or 5
It
years.
sounds longer though, because we've obviously not been able to go up for the last 2 years. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's mental.
Well, that were a good night, weren't it? Down at Washington that night, you know.
It worked.
Yeah.
We were saying it was. It's crazy because that's like where you start, innit? Do you know what I mean? In the little pubs and things like that, and then we've obviously gone on from there. But we never forget it because we always say there are about 50, not even 50, I don't know, about 30 people there, and I'm sure it will most of us families.
Yeah.
He compares it to winning for a Toby Carvery every time we mention it.
Yeah.
About the same amount of people as what they is local Toby.
Yeah.
Well, you know, even at that really early stage, you still brought down a crowd. It was impressive, just like your first gig. That I know a lot of friends and family and that kind of stuff were down there, but still, you had a lot of support right from the start, and that's just grown and grown over the years. What? How have you done that? How have you built up that crowd so quick? Because you're selling out the lead mill these days.
I don't know. I think we've been fortunate. We made some good friends early on. We've been lucky enough to jump on big shows. We've worked. We really have worked. We jumped from venue to venue. We've played everywhere now. You know what I mean? And I think something that's important, something that I tell bands that are starting is, like networking. You can't underrate how much that is worth to you. Just networking with people and speaking to people and becoming friends. Do you know what I mean? If you do a favour for them, they'll do a favour for you. And I think just doing that's allowed us to, get a step up.
That's definitely a theme. As I'm doing more and more of these podcasts, and I've done, nearly 100 of them. The main thing, the main tip for people that are, I don't know, if you're in a band and you're struggling to get out of your own city, if you're looking to make contacts and get out of your city and play festivals or do what you need to do, you need to do the networking thing, don't you? Yeah.
Oh, it's so important. I mean, recently, me and Joe, the rest of the lads, it was like a last minute thing. We got asked at about 12 o'clock, like dinner time.
Yeah,
and we had to be there for about 6 o'clock, like in Halifax, next to the Peace Hall. We did an event with Rick Witter, from Shed 7.
Oh, yeah. I've had him on the podcast. Lovely guy.
Yeah, legend. Such a legend.
Yeah.
And we did an acoustic, just like an opener for one of his Q&A events. And from that, the things that we've got just from going to the the event has been incredible.
Yeah. So I'm still trying to figure out how it's all happened. Hard work. What is hard work? What do you class as hard work?
Just doing grafting, isn't it? Really, just grafting, building up your fan base by like word of mouth, and that's pretty much it. Really,
I think leafleting, postering, just getting the word out there any way you can.
Yeah.
I think like the most important thing is you got to think that we're still just 4 normal lads that have got normal day jobs, like not quite, but 9 till 5 day jobs. So for us to do the band as well, it's kind of like having like 2 jobs.
It is.
So we come in from work and like to be quite frank, you sometimes you can't be asked, but you've got to be asked.
Yeah.
You've got to believe in your sends, and if you want to get, if you want to get to the top, you've got to put that graft in, and sometimes it might mean like, especially for me, I like my sleep, mate. These lot get on at me, but
we call him Mr. 8 hours.
Yeah, 8 hours of sleep. If you come in from work and you've got to go to practice and you've got to have a meet up and talk about what you're going to be doing for the next 12 months or whatever, it's kind of it's just what you've got to do at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I think it's having a high standard for each other as well. Like we all hold each other to the same thing, and like you're saying, it's about turning up at practice even if you don't fancy it and putting hours in behind scenes, and then it just translates, I think, organically to what people see.
We always say it's crazy when people ask you what it's like being in a band. They just assume that it's turning up, playing guitar, singing, and then going home. But you don't understand the amount of politics, the amount of planning and arrangements that have to go into actually being in it. It's crazy.
And arguing. That's something we do a lot of. We kiss and make up after.
Oh, yeah.
I think monthly Jeremy Kyle session.
Yeah, that's it. I think I'm Graham.
What were your last argument about then?
Oh God, I can't remember, to be honest.
It might have been his haircut. I'm not sure.
Callum went full on full fold. We both went full on full fold.
Went full folded.
Yeah.
Nearly gone.
Nearly gone.
Chop last bit out of the day, mate.
Come on then, I'm going to stick with it. Come on, what were your last argument? Come on.
Last argument? What were it?
I don't know, probably something to do with my pedal board or amp.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's it.
Not
your guitar because your string snapped, didn't
He absolutely loves selling all his best equipment.
No, I'm one of them, mate. I just like having new gear all the time. Like, I'm like a gear freak.
Yeah, I'd say
you've got something, mate. You're a freak.
Well, I think he's keeping Gumtree in business.
Yeah, pretty much.
You've just got a very short attention span, ain't you, Joe?
Yeah. That as well.
But why do you keep changing stuff then, Joe?
No, I guess it's just finding my sound and like
bored, innit?
Yeah, well, that as well. I guess it's like finding my sound and like I listen to a band and I'm like, oh my God, that sounds mint, and then I'll come to practice and they're like, it needs to be right for us.
Trouble is, he's been listening to like chuffing Slipknot, and then he tries to come and add it into band.
Yeah, I won't call it that, mate. Listen to Slipknot.
Different genres.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Listens to another band, goes there, but never was listening to us.
Yeah.
So does it, is that a thing within the band then, experimentation?
I'd say with me, yeah, but not really with these.
I think
recently, yeah,
it makes us more versatile because we've got like quite different opinions on different music, and I think because of that, it makes us diverse. Because like obviously, he's mod through and through. You can tell by the fringe.
Yes.
Like to be fair, I'm more open to things now, different genres. Joe's actually probably, I'd say, you're more heavy. Would you say?
Yeah, no, like I probably say I'm catered to a lot of stuff.
Yeah, like, but I'd say he's got like the the more pop punk and heavier side of stuff. But I think that brings different guitar structures into songs, and it just makes it interesting, doesn't it?
And you, Callum?
And like on experiment, I like a bit of everything, but if we experiment we spend 3 hours on Monday doing about 4 bars or a song, just over and over again, because 2 of us thought he sounded good, other 2 weren't sure, and then kept swapping and changing his minds, and we get a bit too into it, I think, sometimes, and just need to.
Once, me and you would agree, Callum.
Yeah, it was. I wrote date in my diary on that one.
So what usually happens if 2 of you like something and 2 of you don't then? Because you're an even number.
If Keelen likes it, then
is it Keelen?
If we don't like it, then it don't make a difference. Whether he says
I think we thrash it out and we keep at it for a few weeks, and then you kind of naturally see if it works or not. I think on first day you can have too stronger an opinion. You need to let it settle a bit, and then
I think you have to
naturally
feel it,
know.
You have to feel it. Once you know it well enough to give it some, I think things sort of fall into place just through like your own passion towards the song.
And then if not, like we'll always like try and rewrite it, obviously to fit the band and stuff.
Yeah. Unless he writes it in about 4 different time signatures.
Yeah, which happened on Monday, to be fair.
That's your experimental.
That's what he calls experimental.
Well, the gig at the Washington happened. You started to build up momentum. You started doing other gigs. You started doing. It built up to a stage where you were selling out the Lead Mill. Over lockdown, you had the the social distance one, didn't you, and all that kind of stuff. You still made things happen. Who drives the band? Who drives the band to make stuff happen? Where's the heartbeat come from?
I'd say we all bring his own thing to it, because I think we've all got sort of, even though we work together on everything, I think we've got different ideas as to where we want to take it. So it actually takes us in different directions. I mean, one of the biggest projects we've done recently was with Chesterfield Football Club. I don't know if you saw that. We did. I
did. I know Gareth Burrow as well, and he took the photos.
Yeah. He's great. He's a good friend of ours. Yeah. So we got asked to go down there and advertise the kits. And I'm a Chesterfield fan. I know these aren't, but it were a big deal for me. I've always been a season ticket holder and stuff. So to go in that direction is something that maybe we wouldn't have thought about ourselves.
How did that happen then?
So the manager, James Rowe of Chesterfield, literally put it to the club that he'd like to get a band involved and do a music video in the stadium. And they basically, I think he'd seen us on Twitter. We just released a single, Runaway Instead. And he saw it, he retweeted it all. And I think he just kept us on mind. And then it just happened, and it were brilliant, wasn't it?
Good day out.
Good day out.
Did you wear your blade stop there, Adam?
No, I went loud. I'm not sure wearing red though, didn't I?
He wore red kit.
You went for red one.
He went for away.
I'll tell you what though, we had a really nice, really light green
teal.
Yeah.
We stuck him in keeper's kit.
He couldn't save out though.
Because of the rate catch.
Did Keelen? Did you have a child size one?
He's done it there.
It was too big for you, to be fair.
You were too big for him.
No, to be fair though, I did wear it small, didn't
I?
Yeah.
Well, I think I've done it all the way through my life. I've put myself out of my comfort zone, and I've always, I did stand-up comedy for a year. That's putting myself out of my comfort zone, and by doing that, things happen for you. You meet different people, and different opportunities arise from getting yourself out of your comfort zone, don't you? So little things like that. It's great to see how much have you felt out of your comfort zone by testing these other things.
Well, I think pushing yourself out of your comfort zone is the only way to sort of find these new things.
Yeah.
I think anybody will tell you, the first time you do anything is always the most difficult, most scary. I mean, I think we were probably more scared going to play at the Washington than we have been when we played at 20,000 at Oakwell.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I think it's weird. I think the stuff that you'd expect us to get nervous for, so like I said, the 18,000 at Oakwell or Sporting Sherlocks or Lathums, we don't. But then doing a music video that's just in front of us sends, we get stressed out about it, and I don't know. I think we're strange in what we get nervous about and what we've done.
What we've done, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we went back. So it was it beginning of lockdown? We did a really intimate gig at the Imperial in Mexborough, and I remember saying that we walk out in front of 3,000 and it's like no nerves at all. I walked out in Mexborough, there weren't even that many there, and we were just all of us got leg shaking.
No, I think what it is I think we're obviously what smaller gigs you can see everyone there, can't you? What bigger gigs you can't really. They just look like dots.
Yeah, that's it. You can't see everybody's faces, can you?
Yeah. You mentioned the Oakwell thing as well, so Barnsley Football Club. Did you instigate that yourself? How did that happen?
I'll leave that with Callum.
So I'm a season ticket holder at Barnsley.
Me too.
So we were just on about ways again that we could just do something different. So I just rang them up. I literally rang up, and you kind of get passed from switchboard to switchboard until we got speaking to Andy, who was like head of media and stuff there. And I sent him music. He liked it, so I played it. Start off with him, and he just rang saying, "Look, we want to do something different. Do you think you'll be able to play?" And we're meant to be on halfway line, like a half time or just before a game or whatever, but ref called it off and we ended up in one of the stands like. But yeah, just putting us in our beer and trying to do something different that nobody else has done.
Taking the initiative, that's the first thing that you notice when you're in a band now, is
being cheeky.
I think being cheeky, yeah. If you have the idea, go for it. It don't matter. You might, like 100 no's and one yeah means that you're going to be able to do that one thing that, you know, might get you to the next level. So
it's just another good example of how you're hustling and working hard, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's just important to keep it going. Like Cal said, it is literally just being incessant and not stopping and just not taking no for an answer with it and just keeping going. And
we found out phone calls were better than emails.
Yeah, that's definitely one tip. If there's any young bands listening, that is a good tip.
100%.
Yeah. I think when you're on an email, you can sort of delay an answer. You can, and as well as being able to delay an answer and not get a straight answer, you can also give off the wrong impression or something. So like we could perhaps chat to someone on email and maybe, I don't know, a promoter that we maybe want to work with, like let's say Manchester or something, and they might come back to us and be like, yeah, possibly lads, but we haven't really got it on at the minute. And some bands might take that as well. They're not really interested. They don't really want to do it, but it could just genuinely be that person is very, very busy at that moment in time and they haven't got time to put any more, you know, upcoming bands on.
People are busy in their lives. If you just, you know, address them, I think they appreciate it. You know that if you're messaging someone to get a point across, it might take 10 emails. If you have one phone call and you're on the phone for 10, 20 minutes, you'll get to the bottom of it just like that.
You will, as a promoter that receives loads of emails from out of town bands that want to play where I put gigs on in Manchester and Sheffield, you do get some of the emails that you get are just a bit useless as well. They're a little bit like, love what you do. Can you get me on your next gig? That's already been advertised and it's got a full lineup on it. And some people they wanted to get involved with that. I'm just like, well, just think about it a little bit. You cheeky bastards. That's not going to get you anywhere.
That's the thing about being in a band. Yeah. You're a part-time musician, part-time detective. You've got to do all your research and get to the bottom of it.
Research.
I think we've been pretty lucky. I think we've been pretty lucky in aspect to like me and Callum's got an older head on his shoulders in terms of like he can look at like the greater picture of things. Joe, bless him, just kind of goes a long way. But me and Keelen have kind of got a bit of a business head on us in the aspect to like when we're getting in touch with certain people or when we're planning things, we've both had experience at doing things in maybe not hands-on directly running, more so Keelan's definitely had more experience sort of like running business and things like that, but actually learning and knowing, understanding how business works. And at the end of the day, music industry is a business, same as everything else. And I think a lot of bands come unstuck, especially up and coming ones, is they've got no direction, don't really understand. They sort of just think that because they're in a band, they've kind of got a God-given right just to play that gig. And I don't think they understand from like a business point of view is you kind of got to offer something to that business as well as them offering something to you.
Yeah.
I think there's a gap in information. Yeah, because I think these young bands come through and like maybe if they had a bit more guidance, even these promoters that sort of say that they're going to guide young guns into the next stage. I think maybe there's a gap in helping them, achieve what they want to achieve and the right information, because there's a lot of information out there that's
not right.
That's definitely not worth listening to.
That's why we've always got time for any band that comes and chats to us. Like we're nowhere near a massive band. I mean, some people might think we are, but we don't believe that at all. And no matter what, whether it's a band, we had a good chat at Lathums the other week, and whether it's a band like Lathums or whether it's a band that's literally just starting out and they just want to know how they can advance and progress on from having to just play in front of the mum and the dad and the grandma and granddad. To sort of maybe in front of 50 people or 500 or 2,000, whatever. We've always got time for them, and we'll say, well, that's what we did, but every band works different. But we'll always offer our advice and opinion, because at the end of the day, we've had people do that for us.
Yeah, we are.
So you give and you give back at the end of the day.
Well, on this podcast, there's an archive where people listening to this can go and have a listen to loads of advice for bands around those subjects you've just mentioned. And I'm always going to be a promoter at the level of grassroots. So bands pass through the RGM process really quite quick. And I'm quite proud of that, because I am there to give bands advice, and bands do come to me because I've got a bit of a gob online and on this podcast as well. I'm always I'm always discussing people that are ripping bands off and that kind of stuff. Just the last couple of episodes, the subjects. Listen back to the other episodes. I'm not going to go over it again, but we're discussing loads of different pitfalls within the industry where bands are being ripped off. They're being exaggerated to. They're being sold packages that are just unrealistic. They're being offered festival slots. They're being working promoters that are going to pay them X, Y, Z, and they don't end up paying them anywhere near that. There's just loads of pitfalls out there for bands that we're discussing on this podcast. So I'm glad. What kind of pitfalls have you seen that we might be able to raise more awareness of?
I was just about to say before we move on to that is that you are providing an integral step on that ladder.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's so important for these bands to have that way in, because you got to think that if you have no idea about the industry, no idea at all, and you're coming in just like we didn't know anything. If you've got nobody to guide you, literally, where are you going to be playing? You're going to be playing these sort of further promoters that will rip you off. Unless you have a sense of direction, you've no idea where to go. So what you do is provide that. Do you know what I mean? That sense of direction. You are the gap.
So there's a massive gap between playing in front of 5 people and the stage that we're at now. And there's probably another gap in the middle of that as well. And there's a massive gap for us now to get to the next level. And I think what the industry is missing is people that can bridge them gaps. And obviously people like yourself, that you're bridging gaps. And like you say yourself, you'll always be at grassroots level. So if we can get, 10 Carmelones that bridge them gaps in different stages, it'd be great.
Get yourself cloned, lad.
Yeah.
if some people heard you say that out loud, they'd be like shitting it. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that around. Well, yeah. Well, I'd class myself as being at the level where you've just started off as a band. You've probably done a few gigs, and you might want to. You've started to do ticketed gigs as well. You're selling tickets to your friends and your family. You've just started to pick up a bit of a following, and you might be doing a venue about 80 to 100 people. So that's where I'm always going to be, because one of the main reasons why I don't want to go bigger than that is that I can't be dealing with agents and that kind of stuff. Just having 10 different messages when I just want one answer. I can't be arsed with that. I love seeing the journey of a band and then letting them go and move on into the next part of the industry, which is the bigger promoters, the more national based ones that can, take them further than what I'd ever, want to, really. Because, I know where I specialize, and I know where the value is with what we do at RGM, and it matches everything we do at the magazine. It matches everything that I'm trying to do with a band. I've been in bands. I've been there for years. I've been in this industry for fucking too long. And it's just, thanks for, mentioning that I've never really thought of it that way, of like bridging different spots within the industry. And,
it's true, because, in Sheffield alone, that's obviously what we can talk about is you got to think of from the beginning, from like playing the Washington for us, it's a step in venues. So like you said, you sell 50, maybe to your grandma and a next door neighbour and your dog's vet or whatever.
I do love seeing a grandma come to a gig. It's so...
Oh, you've got to, don't you?
I love it. I've been introduced to many grandmas. It's brilliant.
Joe's grandma, you ought to see her on dance floor. How old is she now?
I don't want to offend her. She's about 82 or something like that.
About 82, mate.
I thought you were going to say like 45 then.
Like nobody.
Cool. Yeah. Well, it's great though, isn't it? It's so nice just to I don't know what more I can say about it. Grandma's coming to gigs. I've got no more to say on that.
Believe it. No, but we're just saying that, with the venues, it's sort of like, so you go from that 50 and maybe to then 100 and then 250, then 500. But another thing is talking about the venues, because obviously the last 2 years has been so hard on these venues. If they don't exist, there's literally gaps in that bridge. Because we were lucky enough at the time that when we were sort of starting out, we went through the Washington, then we moved to Rocking Chair Taffy Totem, and then we went to Leadmill Small Room, and then O2 Small Room, and then Leadmill blah blah blah, and then all the way up to where we are now. So it's, do you know what I mean? If there is a gap in that, it's so difficult.
Yeah, well, you know, the last time I saw you all in real life was down in Tramlines when you weren't we? And I think I just interviewed, I don't know if it's the Blinders or the Lathums. And I just come
Blinders, I remember speaking.
The Blinders, it was the first day when it was Friday, yeah. And So how was Tramlines for you and actually playing the main festival bit?
Crazy. Well, is that second time we've done that? Yeah, second time. But when we saw you, we just got off from shooting a bit for ITV Calendar News.
Oh, yeah.
So we just done the interview there. So that obviously for us, that's crazy. Again, it's all publicity for us.
Again, that's putting you out your comfort zone, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is a fairly like relaxed, casual conversation / interview that we're having now, which is good. But then when you're on like actual TV, where it's shown up and down country, it's a bit daunting, really.
Formal, isn't it?
They make me look about 2'2". I need to carry a step ladder about with me.
Too many jokes. I've got too many jokes. So when you play, because you supported the Lathums recently as well at O2 Sheffield Academy, what conversations were you having with the lads? And you mentioned earlier that you're having a good chat with them. What came out of the chat? And I don't mean like political things. I just mean like industry things, you know.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, they are the soundest lads. Do you know what I mean? You expect sometimes, because obviously they've got the real hype at the moment. They are like flying, doing really well. They deserve it. Yeah, they're the ones at the moment. And I don't know. I guess you expect them to maybe have a chip on the shoulders, but them lads, not at all. They just sound as anything. I mean, I let Callum talk about this because I think Cal spent about half an hour in the dressing room with them. So,
go on, mate.
Yeah. So, obviously, I'm really bad with people's names, but Singer does 3 or 4 songs on his own. And I'd just come out to toilet, like, getting stuff ready and had to get off. Another 3 lads came off and they just took me into the dressing room and it just shocked me to start off with how, like, normal they appeared. Like, Keelen just said, you expect maybe a bit of something different, maybe a chip or whatever. But, yeah, they were just talking about when they were at our stage, and I think they said when they first got the management, they were, like, playing gigs for, like, 2 hours at a time. And they were, like, obviously told that's not what... It's not quite what you do, is it, at this stage? And just they were just really fun
for 2 hours.
So like they'd get up and play for like 2 hours straight.
Oh, okay, just like a rehearsal, like a long rehearsal thing.
Like at a gig, like they'd at a gig, their like headline gig would be like they'd play for 2 hours or something daft.
Okay.
And management was saying like Rolling Stones, innit? They get up and play for 2 hours and don't get down, not quite.
Yeah.
Before you've got there, and just conversations like that. I think that's some of the like we struggle with sometimes. We've got God knows how many songs, 50 songs we could probably put in a set list. But it's just them conversations, isn't it, where you can have too many songs and you need to reel them down, and they were saying that affects them already, and it affects us, and it puts into perspective really that no matter where you are, you're gonna have them same problems and that same kind of I don't know, them same conversations happening no matter what stage you're at. And that were quite nice to see if it don't change just because you're selling out academies, all of it. It's still going to be arguing about which songs you're putting in set and what order you do them in and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I interviewed him at Tramlines, just so laid back. It was like, I don't know. Yeah. I still can't put my finger on.
They're living green, really, aren't they? When you think it must be pretty crazy. As crazy it is for us to see it and be amazed by it, they must be feeling exactly the same. Because it's kind of they've worked for it, but it has kind of happened overnight, hasn't it? Where like they've just got massive, and me personally, I quite actually don't actually know how I'd be able to deal with that. Like it's a bit until you're in that position, I probably don't know how I'd deal with it. But them lads have just dealt with it I'm. Like we knew going into work every day to work 9 mile 5 or whatever. It's just a job, isn't it, for them, I think. And
they were just really grateful they got signed, obviously, just before lockdown. So that kind of secured their spot, like on a pause type thing until after it. They said like 2 weeks later, everything shit hit fan, didn't it? So you don't really know where you would have been. So it's that kind of, you're always looking out for that little bit of luck as well, aren't you? I think as a band. You're always.
Yeah, I was talking to Scott, the guitarist, over a pot noodle actually, and he said that when they hit number one, I think he's as flabbergasted as everybody else is. I think it's just sort of been sprung upon him, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, good work.
It did get over to me, but the planning of stuff. So they said that album, they got advice obviously from everybody, but they had a plan to how they'd try and get it to number one. And I think that is something that we've always tried to do ourselves, innit? Like, right now, we know roughly what we want to be doing in like 6 months' time. And I think that's probably a key piece of advice I'd give to anybody. They just try and have an idea where you're wanting to go. You'll end up going on twists and turns and not get A to B like you thought you were going to be. Have a rough idea of where, like in next 6 months, you're going to try and be.
What can you tell us about what's coming up for the Rosadocs then? What are you allowed?
We're really busy actually, but it's sort of a bit of a secret at the moment. But over the next few days, we're going to be.
What we can talk about is obviously we've got us last two singles that are going to complete as EP coming out.
Yeah, that's the first thing.
With videos using as videographer as normal, Harrison at Fletcher Films.
Yeah, amazing videos. You're working really hard at the videos as well, aren't you? That's one big thing.
Yeah, that's one thing that we've really, really tried to improve upon. We've sort of, if you think about it as like when we started and then the next stage up, the thing that we said that was really key is sort of the visuals, because, you know, nowadays people just flicking through the phones. You're not going to, I just don't think you're going to grab someone's attention with a nice piece of artwork.
Even the advert you did for Leadmill when you're phoning round all lads.
That
came across really well when I saw that. It made me want to buy a ticket straight away. I'm like, I might ask them.
It's just about being different. I mean, obviously, another Yorkshire band that's doing that is, you know, the Ratings. I mean, their videos, everything is very, very inventive. And I mean, it's not, obviously, we're not reinventing the wheel as such, but just being different, just trying to be, you know what I mean, more than just your local band or something like that.
Putting in more effort than you probably need to. Like, we didn't need to do that video to announce Leadmill, but we just did it because it was something slightly different. Put him up, 100%, Joe.
What I will say, we tend to surround ourselves with people that want the same as us, but in their field of expertise. So, like, Harrison wants the best of the best. So we'll go to Harrison with an idea for a music video, and he'll come back and he's like, "I like it, lads," but he's quite obsessive in the fact that he wants it to be absolutely spot on, perfect, and obviously we do as well. So by surrounding ourselves with people
building your team,
we've got quite a team of like-minded people behind us. They're not major players in the industry, but they want the same thing as us. Yeah. And they are really good at what they all do, and I think that's a key thing as well. You've got to surround yourself with the people that want the same thing as what you want.
Exactly. I mean, like you just mentioned, Harrison. He's like he's not willing to let anything go. It's got to be perfect, and that is his art. Do you know what I mean? Just as we wouldn't release a subpar song, he wouldn't release a subpar video, and the same goes. We work with producer Gavin Monaghan down at Magic Garden Studios.
I've had him on the podcast as well.
Yeah, well, incredible at what he does. So again, it's that perfection. It's got to be above and beyond what you need to do into, you know, the realms of what you want it to be. It's got to be.
And Keelen, you were just about to say something, and Adam stopped you. Go on. What were you going to say about what's coming out?
I forgot now. I probably
forgot. My brain we're talking about.
No, lads, honestly, I really appreciate you spending your time with us on the podcast today. I'm looking forward to finding out what's coming out of the next 6 months and seeing what the plan is. And just from me again, you know, I'll see you soon. And I just wish you all the best. Nice one.
Yeah, wish you the best too, mate. Take care of yourself.
Thank you.
Cheers, lads. Thank you.